Welcome to The Aside, short conversations with authors just off the page. I'm Valerie Beal. I'm an author myself, but I was trained as a journalist. So here I get to satisfy some of my insatiable curiosity, which some might call nosiness. Each episode features a focused conversation with an author about the ideas that shape their work, along with some potentially quirky questions you might not be expecting. If you love reading, writing, or simply learning more about some of your favorite authors, you are in the right place. Let's step off the page and begin. Welcome to The Aside. Today we are joined by Anne Louise Bannon, a prolific author of a number of series and many short pieces and anthologies as well. You've written pieces for anthologies, I think, too, right?
Yeah,
Am I
three or
right
four,
about
actually. I got about three or
that?
four pieces.
And my favorite is the old Los Angeles series, but I enjoy the other books in your other series as well. But one thing, as I was preparing for this interview, that I didn't realize that there's a nonfiction book I need to ask you about. So that's further down.
We'll ask that. Yeah.
So thanks for joining me. I appreciate that you're here today. I should mention, okay, so we're both Blackbird writers. So I've known you through Blackbird Writers. And finally, like a little over a year ago, we were at the same conference and finally got to meet each
Right.
other in person. So,
That
but
was,
you are not in the Midwest where I am. You are out in the LA area.
uh-huh.
And you are working through the fun process of rebuilding your house after having suffered through the Altadena fire. Yeah, and all
Yeah.
that. So I think pretty much everybody remembers that horrific, thing
It
just from a
was,
news perspective.
yeah, it was pretty nasty. I mean, you hear about the Lanai fires, you hear about the fires in Sonoma, and then, oops, now it's your fire. Yeah. But I don't want to, I'm trying to avoid the toxic positivity thing, but at the same time, I don't want to bring everybody down. I'm not destitute, and I'm luckier than a lot of people. So, but at the same
Well,
time, it still sucks, you know?
it does. I mean, and we were talking a little bit about just like, the building permit process and things that take
Ugh.
quite a while to get done. The one thing that I have found fun, if we can find anything fun about this, and that's like toxic positivity, has been really, I love floor plans and I love looking at things. So I believe like you maybe shared your husband's post or I saw his, just about
Yeah.
the new design of your house and a chance, if there is anything that you could look at in a positive light is you get to design a house now.
Yeah,
That
it's nice in that, how do I say this? It's nice in that I get an extra bedroom. I'm going to have my own sewing room. You're not going to have to see all that in the background next time we Zoom. Um, the background we'll see, I don't know. But you're not going to see all my sewing stuff. And so that'll be really nice. But I lived in a 100-year-old house. It's all going to be brand new now, which on one hand is really cool, and on the other hand, but it's not 100
I
years.
know. I know. The thing is too, so we built the house that we live in now, but we came out of remodeling an old Victorian. And they
Yeah.
thought we were insane when I showed them what I wanted the baseboards to look like and the trim and everything, because we were coming from that old style with, thicker, nicer wood trim and stuff.
Yeah.
And so there's some things I totally understand that. There's some things about older houses that are just
You
special.
just can't. They're
Yeah.
just special. And that they've survived that long is saying something. That's longer than most humans, okay?
Right, right. And that's just the sad thing too, is that these are historical homes, many of them, and
Yeah.
so the personality of the neighborhood will be a little bit different. Well, and you're a big fan of history and historical details too, because you really work do you do so well with the research for your books. So that stuff, I mean, that stuff really matters to you, right? To get it right.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
live in terror of somebody saying, "Oh, you screwed that up." And I've already screwed stuff up. That's the scary thing. I was I was in book three in the old Los Angeles series, Death of the Chinese Field Hands. Uh, Prior to that, I was looking and looking and looking, trying to figure out when sterile surgery came to the US
Oh.
because it was right in the late 1860s that Joseph Lister started developing it. And he wrote his article, I think, in 1867. And I've already set my character, Maddie Wilcox, up as a very progressive
Mhm.
kind of doctor. She's using plaster casting, and a lot of doctors in the US, even though it had been around in Europe since 1840s,
Okay.
weren't taking it, and they just But what I did is, so I was looking all over the place for it to be, figure out when it was. Well, and getting ready to put Chinese book three, Death of the Chinese Field Hands to press, this close. And I stumble onto a site that has all these period medical journals.
Oh my gosh.
They're scans of the original medical journals. Gold mine. And it was, let me tell you. But sure enough, there's the California Medical Gazette. There were only 2 years of it, 68, 69. And in the first part of the Gazette is the malaria theory of disease, that is bad air that causes disease. And towards the back in the 69 part is Lister's original article on sterile surgery. As in, yeah, Maddie would have known about it.
Wow. Which, and you're like, yes.
Except that in two prior books, she's bitching about how there's no sterility.
Oh, well, that's okay. Wait, you're the only one who figured it out though, right? Did anybody
Well,
else point it
no,
out?
no, no, no. It gets better. I have
Oh
a
no.
better out. I have an even better out. The end of book near the end of book two, her house burns down. Somebody throws lobs and everything burns up except for the walls because it's adobe. Found out later that adobe doesn't burn.
Oh, whoops. Whoops.
Whoops. But the walls are still standing in the description, so we're okay there. But everything else, if you put it on a thatched roof and those
Oh,
roofs
yeah, that'd
were
be highly flammable. Right,
highly
right.
flammable, everything would have gone up, including her journals. So she's writing this from memory.
You
Those
are
first two
you are
books were memory.
you are in the clear. You are in
I'm
the
in the
clear.
clear. And I redid the last scene when she's doing a surgery at the dramatic conclusion of Chinese film. It's like, ah.
That's so fun though. And actually, there's been a couple times where I have gotten myself into something I want to write, but I have to go back and see if I contradicted myself earlier in one of the
Oh
earlier
yeah,
books.
yeah. We do all sorts
And
of things like
oh
that.
my gosh. And so then I had to do just a slight tweaking of a conversation in book three to make something work in book four, but it was so minor.
Somebody is going to come up with it because that's just what people do.
That is what they do. And then they get excited that they caught something that you
Yeah.
missed or
Well,
whatever. So
I'm doing my research for book seven now, Death of the Insurance Man, and it's going to involve a court case. So I'm really researching how they handled court cases, except that I can't find the grand jury records, or I think I know where they are, but I haven't had a chance to look at them. I don't know how long it generally took between the you, time your final appeal ran out and the execution, because there will be an execution
mhm.
in this. And so I've been tearing my hair out, but as a couple of my research librarian friends said, honey, if you can't find it, no one else
Well, that's a good point. But I mean, I get
can.
it. You're going to search until you know you've exhausted all the possibilities,
Possibilities.
right? I mean,
And I can always rewrite because I'm gonna be working on this thing for a while, so it's not that big a deal, but it's
that's
still
number seven.
number seven.
Woohoo!
And I'm going back and
Excellent.
forth on the title, Death of the Assurance, men or man, but I don't, I think men will give too much away. Never mind.
Shh. Do I need to cut that out of the interview?
No, no. If somebody remembers it, I will be honored.
So I always talk when I talk to other authors, they usually have had a lot of different jobs. And one of your past lives jobs was as a TV critic. And
Yeah,
that is, I think that's super cool. You did
it
that for
was.
like more than 15 years. So I want to know more about being a TV critic. Tell us about that.
It's an interesting job. I mean, I was doing a lot of celebrity profiles because I knit and I discovered Time Daily knitting on the set of Judging Amy. We had a lovely conversation. I sold a story from it. I was doing a lot of freelancing at the time, and well, I was freelancing. It was a lot of fun. There, doing set visits, which are a blast. I also got to do some really interesting junkets. Disney took us to the animation studio at Disney California Adventure one time.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, so there was a lot of fun stuff. Oh, and one of my first tours, Wonderful World of Disney was getting back up on ABC, and this was even before Disney bought them. Um, but just because we'd have after parties where we get to talk one-on-one with the celebrities, which was
Huh?
really could be really interesting. Sometimes it was just on. Uh, but but it was really fun in that they had this big new production of Cinderella with Brandy, and the title
Mhm.
was Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella. It was a nice production, and I got to talk to Jason Alexander, but they
Oh,
took us to Disneyland to do it. So they brought us all these 200 critics on a bunch of buses, took us into Disneyland, had us march through the park with by guys in green soldier outfits with the little plastic things on their feet like they were in Toy Story.
oh my goodness.
Marched us through the park to this little room they had there, and they have tons of those in that park. And we had to feast like you would not believe. They had all sorts of. Mary Rogers was there, Richard Rogers' daughter. And here's the thing about Mary Rogers: she also was a composer and lyricist. She was behind the music for Once Upon a Mattress. Remember that old show?
Really?
Yeah. And
Did not know that.
I love that show, and I was able to talk to her about that. It was so exciting. And so there were all these different things that we got to do. And better yet, I made some really good lifelong friends out of that group. And it was just
Mhm.
it means a lot to me to know these people and to have been friends with so many of them for so long. So it had a lot of good stuff, and and seeing really good show, being the first one to see the really good shows. Like
Mhm.
there was keep in mind this I my 2014 everything my in touchness with popular culture pretty much goes to hell because it's been so long since then. But I remember the log line for Desperate Housewives. The ghost of a woman who committed suicide is commenting on her neighbors' uh, lives. And I went, okay, that just sounds like, yuck. Oh my God, this is gonna be a shit show. I'm watching the tape and going, oh my God, this is good. Oh my God, this is so good. This is terrific. And better yet, what even we had the big press conference and the executive producer there, and it's not registering who he was at first. I'm going, I know that guy. And it's not from TV. I know. Turns out it was Mark Cherry who created the series.
Oh,
I went to college with Mark Cherry. We had classes together.
what a weird coincidence that you would cross paths then,
Yeah, and he even knew me by my former married name. So, it was because when I got divorced, I took my birth name back. And yeah,
Yeah.
so that was really a lot of fun. But then there was the endless chain of reality shows.
Many, many, many,
Oh,
many.
ghastly, 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 ghastly. And all the nature docs, because I particularly focused on television that families can watch together. So,
Okay.
and everybody's talking about how exciting Blue's Clues was. And I'm like, what? You got it. You're going to say the same thing whether the kid got it or not. What is this?
I suffer through so many episodes of Blue's Clues in this household. Just
Uh,
saying.
and I do mean suffer. That show is so god awful. Teletubbies was surprisingly good, but it's you just
Oh,
have to be in a very zone place. But
okay. So the Teletubby baby, the little girl, she is
mhm.
now like has her own baby. She's like in her 20s and now has her own baby.
Yeah, thank you. Make me feel old.
I know. Hey, look,
I
I
just
was
realized I
watching
have a
that
daughter.
baby.
I realized last year that I had a daughter who was turning 40. I'm like, hey, thanks.
Yeah, we're not far behind you, so
Yeah, it
we
was
can
like, oh,
commiserate together.
yeah. Except I'm not getting
Okay,
married, but that's another.
so I want to, yeah, exactly. So I want to ask, I'm so fascinated, and I did not know you wrote a nonfiction book called How Done It, Book of Poisons.
Okay, believe it or not, that was version two. The first one was Deadly Doses. Wrote that
Oh,
with Srita Stevens. And yeah, we wrote it and had a good time. I mean, it's a good book, I think.
do you, I can't remember now. Have you used it? I mean, have you poisoned a lot of people? Do you still use it yourself? Do you
Actually,
reference it?
very rarely, oddly enough, because A, some better books have come out since then. Shh, it's out of print, I can say it. And the publisher went out of business on top of that. So, this thing's so gone, done deal, it's not even funny. But yeah, some better books have come out since then. And the other part of it is that it's actually pretty hard to poison somebody. Easier to do in Victorian times because they didn't have all the tests and stuff.
Right,
They had the
right.
diagnostics, I mean, somebody's, going like this, that's strychnine,
Yeah.
you got that. Um, and in fact, that's fun. So no, I don't poison people very often. It's very hard it's hard to pull off. Um, and poisons also taste like crap. So you have to be very careful about how you hide them. It,
Right, exactly. Because people will notice it and quit eating the thing that doesn't taste good or whatever.
I did
So,
have somebody partially drug somebody with some Valium in a book, but it was not to kill him, although he ended up dead anyway. But it was, they hid it in his coffee. And,
okay.
you taste extra bitter coffee, you're going to just think, especially if it's from a craft services table, you're going to think,
Yeah,
oh, coffee went
it's
bad.
just bad coffee. It's just really, and you throw more, sugar in it or something and to
Sugar and
mask it.
milk and boom, that's it. But I don't recommend it. You do something funny, the odds of them finding it are pretty good. So that
Yeah, I know. We have to deal with modern technology unless you're writing historical books, in which case you
does
might get away with it.
that.
You might get away with it. So I have a fun character question. What is a weird, hyper specific detail you know about one of your characters that is something you know, but just really has never made it into like a book?
And probably will not directly ever make it into a book because of the nature of Maddie Wilcox, who does not acknowledge sex exists. But let's just say the Merry Widow was a little merrier than I've thought. Yeah,
Sorry.
a little more sexually active, but it will never make it into a book. There are hints
Mhm.
that she has had the odd understanding or two with a couple of guys in the Pueblo, but you know,
That's that seems, yes, I feel as though that is understood.
yeah,
Yes, yes, but
yeah,
you don't actually write those scenes.
she
So
would never, ever, ever, ever. She's talking about rape and she doesn't acknowledge sex exists. It's just,
well, she's of her era, right?
she is of her era. That's it, exactly. She is that is the point of Maddie Wilcox. She is a product of her time.
I really like her though. I really like her. I get excited to read when I pick up one of your books with her, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun. I'm going to enjoy this.
You'll enjoy Death of a Proper Bostonian because you're going to see a side of her we don't normally see. She's gone
Oh,
Hollywood
well,
because
oh, yes.
she's always bitching about how much she hates LA, and in fact couldn't go back to Boston because she couldn't travel that far. She gets seasick and she gets motion sickness,
Oh, yeah,
and
it's not going to be a fun trip.
no, well, as she says, getting out there almost killed her in Death of a Drunkard, and so now that there's a train, and keep in mind, I get motion sickness in cars. I used to. I don't get as much anymore. But in cars, I could
Mhm.
get motion sickness. On boats, definitely. I can't imagine trying to survive a stagecoach with all that jostling and
Oh, no, that would
bad
definitely do
talking.
me in. Yeah,
Definitely.
that would not be good.
But
Mm-mm.
I can survive a train. I do quite
Interesting.
well.
Well, they're smoother, right?
They don't rock. They don't go back and forth.
No,
They're very
no.
little. So,
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, that would work. So now she's
that
able, now that the train has come all the way out, she's able to get back
yeah.
east.
Well, the train was all the way out to California in 1868, 67, but you had to get up to San Francisco, and it just probably wouldn't have occurred to her. She wasn't sure what her dad was doing. Her father Good old Pop. Her father is a good old-fashioned Victorian proper gentleman, and which means he's completely out of touch with his kids. You know?
Yes. Well, I mean, having a daughter who's in a occupation that is very atypical for a female
Oh
in
yeah.
that era.
And keep
Yeah,
in
I
mind,
couldn't
they
even
were
imagine.
of the higher social, they're of the higher social caste. They're out of
Yes.
proper Bostonian is another term for a Boston Brahmin. But when I was doing my research,
Oh.
yeah, well, when I was really doing my research, the Brahmins were a very specific set of families. And I thought, I don't want to fictionalize that much. But
Mhm.
you can say proper Bostonian. In fact, Charlotte McLeod did because, again, Sarah Kelling, her big character, is a proper Bostonian. She is of the Brahmins, but there were no killings. And yeah, so I had a little bit of fun with that.
Oh, that's fun. I look forward to it. Wait, when does that come out? Tell us.
And June 12th, which I think is today.
Yes, it is out today. Woohoo!
Woo! Book birthday.
I will link to all of those fun things in the show notes so
Yeah,
people
and
can go on
oh
over and check it out.
shoot.
Some writerly questions. Oxford comma? Yes or no?
Hell no.
No? You're a
Hell
no?
no. Hell no. Except where needed for clarity. I will acknowledge that part.
Okay.
But no, I sister taught me when I was in
Yeah.
elementary school that you didn't have to use it in a series when before the word and. And
Mhm.
sister was right.
as as assuming a sister, a nun who was your educator, your teacher at the time.
Yeah,
Yes.
yes.
Well, you don't
It,
cross the
I don't
knowledge
craft
you're
that.
getting.
Well, and it wasn't that I was afraid of her. I just revered her wisdom. And
Yes.
frankly, I think it's just always kind of fun to leave it out of the series and feel like I'm getting away with something.
It's really you just wanting to be like, runs with scissors and do something different. No, I'm
Yeah,
teasing you.
and that's pretty much it. But it was also, I mean, there are times when it is necessary for clarity. I'm
Yeah.
good with that.
Yeah.
I have no problems with that because that's what you do. But there are times when it's just not necessary. Come on, guys, get over it.
I
And
really like the examples though that make that that point out when you do need it.
yeah, oh, I love those.
The funny examples.
Yeah, but I'm thinking of one and I can't phrase it right. So
Well, it's so there's the one I think it's actually a grammar book, and the title is "Eat Shoots and Leaves,"
mhm.
and it's I think got a panda, and it's eats comma shoots and leaves, and the panda's holding a gun because there's no Oxford comma. I'm sorry, I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's
I
exactly. I
find
mean,
things
no,
punny.
that one is when you need an Oxford comma. I'm good with that. It's just well, it's kind of like remember when we used to have to leave two spaces after the period?
Yes, yes. And
Don't
that's such a
anymore.
bit when we learned to type, that's what we always did, space, space.
Which I know
And
is a goddamn nuisance.
why, okay, what was the reason for that? Was it so that things didn't
It
get
was
jammed up when we went to
I
do the
think it was just
capital?
make a TypeScript easier to read. But when I got into journalism pretty heavy, they didn't like doing it because you had to take those damn spaces out all the time. And
Right,
and
right.
and then eventually with the computer age, same dang thing. And they said, no, don't do it anymore. I'm like, I'm vindicated. That thing was such
Well, and I do. Okay, so I just edited a book of articles from there's an environmental reporter here in Wisconsin who is putting together a compilation of different articles he's written through the years, and I had to go in and remove all those spaces. I mean, it's a search and find, search and replace kind of thing. It's not
but
that big
it's
a
still a
deal.
damn nuisance, and it
Yeah.
doesn't hit everyone like the question mark or the uh
Yes.
or or the exclamation point or some of those other things or the quotes, the close quote, which is actually like that on there. But
Yes.
so yeah, no, it's a pain in the arse. And
Yes.
I, like I said, when they finally dropped that, I said, yes, I am vindicated. I'm a happy person now.
So maybe you've already answered this if that's the one, well, it's not really a writing rule anymore. So I was going to say, what's writing rule you believe in and one you think that should always be broken?
All rules should be broken.
Good
No, seriously.
answer.
Are
No,
made
good
to
answer.
be broken, but you have to do it. You can't just go willy-nilly. All rules are also meant to be obeyed. And this is kind of one of those weird things. If you don't know what you're doing, then you screw up by default. It's really kind of painfully obvious.
Mhm.
If you're purposely breaking the rule, it, it can work. It- Bridgerton on Netflix,
Mhm.
one of the few popular shows. God bless Shonda Rhimes. I love this woman to death.
Mhm.
And she came up with a way that she was obviously working outside. She was making a choice that was utterly modern, outside of the Regency history.
Mhm.
And you could really, it was a great choice with the interracial casting. It was a
Yes.
wonderful choice. It made it, I mean, you knew Quinn didn't have it down right anyway. Who cared? But no, my apologies to Julia Quinn. I like the books, by the way. But uh, there was this sense of very consciously making a choice that was ahistorical. It was not historical in the least, and yet it worked beautifully. But then they'd screw something else up. I forget what it was. There was another thing in the first series that I just said, "Oh, come on, you should have known better." I mean,
Yes.
so some of the rules that when you break the rules intentionally for an effect, it's can be remarkably effective. But you have to know the rules and obey the rules appropriately, or you're not it's not you're not going to have that good effect. And you have to know what
Right.
you're breaking and why you're breaking it. So
Exactly. Exactly. And I think that's actually a beautiful answer to that question because some people, like you say, if you bumble into rule breaking, but you've never really learned all the rules,
it's
then
going to
if
show.
someone's like why did you do it this way, or it's not deliberate, and that's a problem. That's a problem because
Very
if you're
much.
being deliberate about it, then people are like, oh, this is an interesting way to approach this is intriguing
Exactly.
because now we're seeing something we don't normally see, and it's enjoyable, right, to
I
do
would
that.
like to think so. We'll see.
I think it is. I think it is.
I think
uh,
it's great when it works, yeah, and it can. And I'd rather see somebody try something dramatic and have it utterly fail than basically just phone it in. That drives me nuts.
right. I mean, there's a lot of people who write very quickly. They write very tropey series, and they're just putting out, and then they like switch it up, barely switch it up, and have a second series. Often in the romance genre, whatever. And
But
it's
it
all.
happens a lot in the cozy genre, mystery cozy genre. Not
Mhm.
everyone. I mean, Donna Andrews, we've been reading her books
Mhm.
recently, and I gotta tell you, it's if you read too much PG Woodhouse together, you realize he wrote the same novel 90 times. He really did. It's the same. You want to talk tropey? This is like it. It's the same plot line. This happens. This happens. This. They fall in love. They hate each other. Whatever. Donna Andrews does not do that.
Mhm.
She finds different ways to bring about the bad. Now, the one thing she will do that's a little tropey is she'll find the most unpleasant character to kill off. And generally, the person who killed him off is pretty unpleasant too. But she makes sure there's other unpleasant people, so it's not like, I mean, you can see the body coming, but that's usually in the
Right.
liner notes anyway. So that's no big deal. But you can, yeah, and she does some really interesting things. She makes some really interesting choices. So
I need to read her more. I think that, I mean, and I think that's in a way, I think we can get bored as writers too if we just do
oh
things the same way over and over again. It's fun to change it up and
yeah, it's
challenge
fun to
ourselves a
change it up.
little bit.
It's kind of embarrassing when you realize you accidentally did the same thing twice. Ended near the end of Death of the City Marshal. Maddie's house is attacked by a fire. and I was writing Blood Red, which is book four in the fascinating in the Freddie Cathy 1920s series, and I set something else on fire intentionally. Oops.
Well, I mean, fire's a thing.
Yeah, but they're two different series, and I'm not going to do that one again. And I did a lot of different things with that one. I really expanded the narration on Blood Red. It was a lot of fun. Um,
Yeah. Well,
Dan
and
Hardy's
it's an
humor.
interesting thing. I mean, I find too, if I so I write YA. So there are times when there's conversations between friends in different series and different books, and I'm like, why is this so? And I'm like, oh yeah, because it's basically the same argument that these other characters had in this,
Uh,
previous
Oops.
book. So I know. We do our
Always,
best.
it's always hard. There are certain things you're going to do just because it's on your brain, and you have to.
Hmm.
I think that's one of the reasons why I like writing
Yep.
two or three different series because I'm forced to switch things up.
Yeah, and you do that really, really well because they're. I think that it makes sense to me that you would want to do that, knowing you that like you would
Mhm.
never just write one thing. Like you're never just going to write
I'm never going
all
to
the
read
same
one
series.
thing. Why would I write one thing?
Exactly. Good
Yeah.
point. So I'm curious. Okay, so this is the that dinner party question. Did you like this one? Do you want me to ditch this one? You want to answer the dinner party question?
Yeah,
The
but nobody's going to know. Nobody's
five
going to
guests
know
living
the
or
people
dead.
I want to invite. That's the problem. And by the way, you and your husband are two of them. Um,
Oh, well, there you go. That would be
yeah,
fun.
so you're about
Well,
it.
all right.
You and who else is on that list? Galit and her husband, whom we've met. She's a delight. But,
Yes. Oh, we would have a great time. That would be a great dinner party.
it would be awesome. We would have a hell of a time. And if the two of you are out here and we have the house, it will happen. It will happen
Awesome. Awesome.
because
Well, and even if we get out there before your house is built, we can find a lovely place to meet up for dinner. We shall do that.
and we have a plethora of them just in my immediate area.
I
So
know you're such a good foodie, you and your
I
husband.
know.
You're both good
Oh,
foodies.
and
So
Michael's just as bad. We have fun. I think the four of us and Galit, well, even with Galit and David, because they keep kosher, but we could still find something with plenty of vegetarian options.
yes, for
It,
sure. Oh, that would be fun. Well, all
it
right.
would just
If I
be
end up out in
perfect.
California in the next little bit, I'll let you know. But
You better.
so
You
so
better anyway.
you've mentioned was it Donna Andrews? Yeah.
Yeah.
What
She
are you
would be there
currently
too.
reading? Oh, that
What?
would be fun.
Yeah,
I was
she'd
gonna
go.
say, are you currently reading her, or what are you currently reading?
What am I currently is well, all right. I'm doing a lot of comfort reading right now because things are just so effed up. It's just
I'm kind of doing that too. I totally understand that instinct.
I
Yeah.
need comfort reading. The mac and cheese of literature, I'm good with that. And mac and cheese is a glorious thing. Uh,
Yes, it
and it's
is.
very comforting. And so Michael and here's the fun part. I have been reading Donna Andrews for years. I love her work. And by the way, she is also she doesn't just write well, she's a good storyteller. Seeing her in
Mhm.
person and holding court, she tells.
Is she fun?
Oh, she's a blast. Total blast. Anyway, so but I've been reading her books for years, and I'd be sitting in the living room reading, and I'd laugh, and my husband would look over at me. It's the story. Here, let me read this to you. So I did talking or whatever, and I'd read him a section, and he'd laugh and so he got to know and got to like her almost as much, and had never read a word. I'd always read all his little. He friended her on Facebook before I did,
That's
based on
super
the little
funny.
bits that I had read him. So, years go by, everything blows up. We're back in this god awful apartment. And so here I am, and uh, we just said we want to read something fun and light and, not frothy,
Hmm.
but at least light. And Michael said, I'd like to read it too, all of a sudden.
Aw,
And so
aw.
we started at the beginning. I'd gotten ahead of him, then he got ahead of me, but we bought all the books since we have to replace the books anyway.
Right. Yes. Yes, of course.
Why
Right.
not? And so we bought all the books, all 30 odd of them. And we just went through, and a few weeks ago we each got done with the last one. But again, he'd start laughing. What bit are you laughing at? Oh, this. Rah, rah, rah. And he'd look over. Sometimes he'd look over. He gets his earbuds in and the game's on. It's kind of like it's all Shohei all the time. My husband lives and breathes and bleeds Dodger Blue. So it's that time of year.
um, I think that makes a lot of sense, though. So you're going to laugh at this. At the beginning of the pandemic, when of course, everything shuts down, and you're just,
Yeah.
I, I decided that I couldn't really remember the details very well of the beginning of the J.D. Robb series, the in-depth
Oh,
series, and there at that time, I want to say it was, I probably close to 50 books were out, and I
yeah.
started over, and I read them all during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like police procedurals, and those are the ones Nora Roberts writes as J.D. Robb. I don't know if
Right.
you've ever read any of those, but
Haven't. And
mm,
I do like a police procedural occasionally. I'm not, wedded to. But yeah, it was just one of those things. And right now I'm in the middle of the Amelia Peabody series because I
oh
adore that
yes,
series.
yeah.
And it's comfort reading. It's just easy. And there was even a book that I've been wanting to read for a while. I picked it up and I'm like, this isn't familiar. I don't want to read this now. I want to read.
Well, and I think that makes a lot of sense. And so even for our own books, that there are different times people are going to want to they gravitate to our books for different reasons.
Mhm.
And that's great. And there are times too, like there's maybe a book I've rejected at a certain time, and I pick it back up again, and it's
Oh
exactly what
yeah.
I need at that moment in time, right? So
Yeah.
it's kind of funny how that works for us, but I do gravitate toward like comfort
Mm.
reading. And actually, right now, I've been reading a lot of dystopian stuff because if I read something where the world is absolute crap, it's not as bad as the current world. So, like,
And I think that's one of the reasons why in times like these dystopian can get very popular. It goes back and forth,
yes.
and I like, I'm not a dystopian fan, but I get it when people do get it. I mean, my kid looks like that. I'm like, seriously? Okay, fine.
Yeah, no, I've been definitely reading about the society collapse of societies, like at least
It just
one
seems too
dystopian a month.
plausible for me right now. Too
The
plausible.
problem, actually, that's a good point. You make a very good point.
It just,
Thank you, Miss Anne Louise Bannon, for joining me today for
oh,
this
well, thank
lovely
you.
interview.
Thank you for having me. Wonderful. Lovely chatting with you.
That's today's conversation on the aside. Thanks for joining me. And if you would like more conversations like this, just off the page, please be sure to subscribe.